when people ask me what's the happiness to me is I always telling them is there's no definition, but in my terms is like I can choose to do what I love to instead of I've been asked to do what other people's expectation or maybe what other people's to think that is the right pathway. So I think this is kind of my happiness is we can choose to do what we think is right on what we love to and what we enjoy to being a superpower as my wake up energy or as my, the go getter energy, because that's all is I choose to do in that way.
I love what you shared there because essentially what you're doing is living a life based on what's most important to you, not what's most important to others. Welcome on the Joyful Mate podcast. How are you, Rachel Wingman?
How are you, Anthony? I'm so excited to be here in your channel.
I'm excited to have you on the channel. I'm well, and I'm really looking forward to discussing happiness with the triple happiness coach. So there's no better person to have on the Joyful Mate podcast other than the triple happiness coach, because this is what the podcast is all about: joy, happiness, and fulfillment. And I'd love you to take the listeners, viewers on a journey as to what is happiness to you.
I love these questions and then also love what you mean about the fulfillment, the happiness and the joy. And your channel's name is really lovely, The Joyful Journey, which is like a really aligned with what I'm doing. So when people ask me what's the happiness to me is I always telling them is there's no definition, but in my terms is like I can choose to do what I love to instead of I've been asked to do what other people's expectation or maybe what other people's to think that is the right pathway. So I think this is kind of my happiness is we can choose to do what we think is right on what we love to and what we enjoy to being a superpower as my wake up energy or as my, the go getter energy, because that's all is I choose to do in that way.
I love what you shared there because essentially what you're doing is living a life based on what's most important to you, not what's most important to others, but what's most important to you. And that energizes you because you're fulfilled because you're doing everything that you want and love to do. So I really like, what are some of those things that really bring you joy? So what are the things that are really important to you that you do regularly that light you up and bring you energy?
For me to bring an energy, the first thing, of course, people may look at me is obsessed in my work. But when they seeing that, because I'm a mother of two, I remember that when I first starting to running my business and then, you have to be juggling in multiple things between playing a role as a mother, as a wife, as a business owner, or even a team leader. Then definitely then I don't have get enough time when we talk about the quantity to spend with my children and my families, then other people will say, judge me about, oh, okay, don't you think you spend not enough time with your children? Don't you think you are not being a mom to care enough for your children? Then this is the question that I always been asking myself at the beginning of the early years of my entrepreneur journey until when you ask me the question about what makes me to feel joy is I can now be very confident to answer back is the joy is nothing to do about the quantity. It's more about the quality of the time I spent with my children and family. And then the connection I can see is like a not because of the conditionally what they do good or what I do good as my mom, say as their mom. Is the connections what I can feel the love is the everyday real conversation. The everyday I can being the authentic self and my kids can be their authentic themselves as well to share all their feelings. And this is kind of the energy and the joy I feel it is I don't have the weight, then I need to be pretending to be good as because what others seeing setting the standard as a good. So this is the energy and the joy I feel is 100%. I already break through that, not caring what other people's judgment it is, instead of I've been looking at and listen to my inner voice. and what I've been valued for and what I want to do for. I'm not sure is
Absolutely.
it because it's too too much explanation on that, but I do believe that the joy and then is not only one thing that you do, is the emotional state, how you actually feel it in yourself.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's more about quality time as opposed to quantity because you see certainly a lot of people doing things and they're not present. They're actually not there. They're on their phones and they're not actually engaging. And so you often see it with people walking their dog is that they're not actually
Mm.
present with their dog. They're actually on their phones. And so I certainly in every aspect, it is all about quality time and having being actually present because when we're present, we sense, we get a greater sense for what's really going on as opposed to just the words they're sharing with us. We can listen between the words and connect with the unspoken word and really develop, I guess, a stronger connection and understanding as to what that person is experiencing or going through. Whereas, when we're distracted, we pick up nothing other than a few words and we're disconnected. And people are unlikely to open up when they sense that someone is disconnected at all because they think, well, you're not interested in what I've got to say, so I'm not going to share it with you. So I really like the fact that you've touched on quality time and it's not quantity, it's being present in everything you do. And you're certainly very present in what you do. You're an accomplished author, you run multiple businesses, you're a mother. And so you got so many things to juggle, but everything you do, when you're doing it with 100% focus and presence. So I think that's really something that I admire about you is that focus and unwavering commitment to what you're doing. My next question for you is around how do you help your clients find their happiness? As you said at the start, it's very subjective. It's what the individual, it's very individualistic. So how do you take your clients on a journey to finding their happy place or their happiness or joy, fulfillment?
We do have a system then for the clients to follow. But the first thing I always to be getting them to do the self-discovery section. Because the self-discovery section is like they come to us and then try to be find and improve their maybe the happiness level, and that is too broad, right? What does it mean the happiness, and most of them actually they don't even know what they want to be. Most of the people they come to us and then to talk about is what they want to do instead of what they want to be something else like and this is it comes down to the self-discovery. They really need to know is their why, their deep why, and what giving them really, I wouldn't even say the motivation, but at least they don't feel tired, they don't feel pain, they don't feel dragging them the energy. Instead of they can see this is like fuel, right? And then just keep them like a everyday going and giving them the ability which is they are capable to create more good days, more positivity days, instead of they being so easy to get influenced or get sidetracked by external factors. So the self-discovery section, that's definitely is the first step I will ask them to start with. And then we will, of course, be following with the well-being questionnaires to seeing in terms of their mental state, their body state, in which level from the 0 to 10 and where they're sitting at. And then we can put in the program in terms not only the I wouldn't say even a therapy because I love to people to more to deep dive their self. So even the power with supporting them to nurturing is all the self discipline, self exploration, like a self love. Because without love in themselves, and it's very hard to get them going. And then we invest a lot of into the healthcare technology because we also using some technologies to giving us a better analyze. And this is the performance scorecard, which is we can share with the client. They can see because people they love to see the actual data in front of them. And then they can see, oh yes, I actually improving, such as reduce their stress level, improving maybe their the body like a happy dopamine, that kind of different way, then we can prove that. And usually the people after the program, they not only by feeling, but they can see the improvement in their energy level, in their in their mood level, and then also in the actual health, the data we generated from the healthcare technology as well. But self-discovery is the first step I will get all my clients if they come to me to find the happiness to start with.
Yeah, it all revolves around understanding self, right? And you mentioned the why. So, what are some of the questions that you would like, the listeners or viewers to think about, to consider in terms of discovering themselves, in terms of finding that underlying why, what brings, yeah. So, yeah, what would be some of the questions that you would ask a potential client or the listener that's tuning in?
So I think one of the indication we also asking during the self discovery section is like the space. How much they really seeing that the space they are being their authentic self. Because space nowadays is not only a physical space but also our mental space. Because you just touch about the presence, right? How we going to make ourselves to be present in when we playing a different role or in that scene, this is the same thing. Because if they been keep running a back-to-back meeting, or they keep thinking about the performance score, or they keep thinking about that bit, then wouldn't be having enough space to do the reflection, their self-reflection. And then by understand more about are they doing that particular task is going to be contributing to their dream, to their goal, or they only just keeping busyness as a part of the progress. Because if you just keep yourself to be busy, but not making a transformational step towards your goal, then which is you are building up you just like a fill in your diary instead of you are working on something that's for yourself, your purpose, what you want to be.
I think that's fantastic point. Is often we just spend too much time spinning our wheels and doing things, and we think doing is productive, but it's not. And as you said, doing the right things based on your purpose, your goals, is taking you in the right direction towards fulfillment. Whereas yeah, if we're just doing things and filling our white space with something that's maybe not fulfilling to us, then we're just really spinning our wheels and driving frustration. My next question is around finding that underlying purpose, because you mentioned like having a purpose, having goals aligned to that purpose, and then making sure that everything in your diary is aligned to taking you towards that purpose. So how do you help your clients find their underlying purpose?
So what I usually to start with is definitely their diary schedule, maybe in the last 2 weeks. And for each task, then I will ask them to be giving the rating. Close their eyes and thinking about after the particular task, how's their energy level? How's their like a do they have feeling is like a one step closer? Because this is different like an indication, then we can prove that are they spending their time, their effort in the right area. Because this is very important by which is we having the structure is by looking at like the food diary, right? When you having the allergy with some, I remember that when I first gave birth to my son, and then if the baby they've got an allergy, you need to be having food journals to list down every single things he ate, and then to monitor is there if there's any reaction comes after. Then it's the same thing. Then we look at the diary on each task. If that task, how's the energy level given to me? If comes back to I wish I don't need to do that, then which is mean that's not fit for you, your purpose, right? And even like because we talk about the purpose, which is mean the purpose is you won't have choice because you see this is the real purpose. You really want to be make it happen. Then you know regardless, determination is you want to do it and you won't feel dragging it and you just feel, oh, yes, I've got one step closer instead of, I wish I don't have to do it. I mean, this is so important. That's what we've been looking at the overall, at least the 2 weeks, their daily tasks in their diary. then giving them some sort of the indication. Are they working like a from underlying space is like a align with their purpose or not?
So you actually, I guess, finding how much time they're working on the things that they want to and love to do, as opposed to the things that they feel that they have to or should do. And then that's determined by producing like a energy rating after doing that task. So if it's something that they feel like they have to do, it's going to drain their energy, or if it's something they should do, it will drain their energy. And so that score will generally be lower. And then if it's something they love to do, then they'll have a higher energy score. And so that way it directs you to understand what the clients, what's most important to them.
I think like not only because it's a self discovery, and then they need to be go through the list and then they find it out, and then to understand to feel their energy level, be honest with themselves, right? But after that, we also will also giving them some kind of the methodologies how they can buy back the time, which is I love it using it in my way is 4D, because we can be like a delete the task if that is not helping my goal at all, right? That is the very important D. And then we can be delegating, because we can delegating to the other people's to doing things for you. And then we can probably defer if that's not important at all. You can defer to doing it later instead of to fill in your empty space, giving yourself more space to do it. Then if anything less than 2 minutes, I highly recommend the people just do it now. If some of the tasks as a business owner you cannot ignore, you is kind of to do it administrative, and instead of you may nowadays people they talk about to getting AIs to doing that. But if not, you don't have these resources. But if the task is within 2 minutes, just do it now. Don't wait for any later, and then you accumulate those stress onto it, and then end up you just been based on all these tasks, and then you will be forget about your purpose again.
Yeah, it's really something that you need to constantly, well, self reflect as to how your days went, how you're feeling, and were you working on the things that are really important to you. Yeah, and it's a constant reflection process, as you mentioned at the beginning. It was how little time we actually allocate to reflection. We're just too busy doing. We don't have time for
Mm.
reflection. But what's the point of doing things that aren't fulfilling, and that's distracting us from our overall purpose and achieving what we want to achieve?
Yes, yes, it is. And is for me is non-negotiable, because like a self-reflection is one of the big things and really making a huge impact since I've been using it to doing it a lot, because then this is my awareness. But after the people they've got this awareness, do they really put action plans to make the shift? Not many people they were doing it because they think that is maybe with the resources they always giving them the excuse is not being able to. But it's not nothing to do with the resources. It's always is by the priority, and then you choose the ways how to do it. And even I think Atomic Habits, this book is like an everyone's so familiar with it, but even 1%, because eventually down the track you will be accumulated, right? All the efforts you've been put into. But always remember your original why, which is your purpose. And make sure you're doing the everyday task, all your time and energy you spend on it, then you need to be keep like a monitor or keep like a and ensure that that is aligned with your purpose and then the bigger goal. Then because once you've got the awareness, even not right, you cannot be 24 hours. You say every single minute you have not wasting at all. We try to, but please remember we are human. You still waste some time. I love daydreaming, but that's okay, because then you don't need to be put too much weight to yourself. Just become just ordinary human at some time. Then giving back and bringing back some space for the reflection.
Nice. I really like that.
Mm.
So creating the white space in your diary to reflect and to work out whether the things you're doing or filling your space with is taking you in the direction that you want to go. I'm just really curious as to what the triple happiness coach's why and purpose is.
So, which is like a at the beginning, I say we always can. It's all based on our choice, right? You choose to which which life pathway you want to be on. You can choose to create more good days. So the reason why I've been labeled myself as a triple happiness coach, because I think it makes me to feel more, apart from just skin, body, and mind, that I feel really aligned on what I'm doing. But I also want to be giving the message is, yeah, some days we may not get all triple happiness. We may only get one or get two or even get triple, right? Single, double, or triple. But doesn't matter because at least we can meet one of them. Then we still can having the ability, we are capable to create more good days for ourselves. So that's why I just make it up as a triple happiness. Let's create more hope for us.
You answered my next question, and it was to explain the triple happiness. And you answered it in that response. So thank you. Really keen, Rachel. It's been a great conversation on joy, fulfillment, and happiness, and how people can find their why, their purpose, and stay on track. Can you please share with the listeners, viewers, as to how they can best connect with you?
Yes, thank you, Anthony. I am active user on LinkedIn. Definitely you can connect me through the LinkedIn. Search Rachel Wingman because Wingman is my real name. And then I feel I'm born to be with the missions by helping and supporting others. So you are not going to be finding another Wingman on the like a LinkedIn, but just find Rachel Wingman. And then on the other hand, I'm also a founder of Wonder Lab. So you can search Wonder Lab, Wonder and Lab because wonder is I encourage people always stay curious. And then this is like a, something that you can find me as well.
Fantastic. And to the listeners and viewers, I'll have those links for you in the show notes. So you can go directly to the link and connect with Rachel. Rachel, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your wisdom and insights on happiness.
Thank you, Anthony. And then I am more than like a happy to be to having in the channel is not talking about my business entrepreneur journey. Instead of I can talk about my life philosophy and the happiness journey because this is something that is already been built in so deeply in my in my life journey. And then thank you for the opportunity, Anthony.
You're welcome, Rachel. And to the listeners and viewers, please share it with others that would like to discover their purpose, their why, and live more fulfilling days of their lives. So please share it far and wide and continue to go on your joyful journey.
Yes, let's be joyful. Bye.